Good afternoon, boys and girls. Today we are going to be talking about copyright rules. Your teacher told me about your assignment and asked if I could go over what copyright means, how it applies to you, and what you can do about it. So, first of all, let's define what copyright is. Copyright is a form of protection provided to the authors of original works of authorship, including literacy, dramatic, musical, artistic, and certain other intellectual works, both published and unpublished. When you create something, you are the owner, and others can't use it without your permission. You can't just use things that you find online, but you need to get permission first. So just because you own the song, the video, or the image does not mean you have the right to use it in something you're producing. You need to reach out to the artist and receive their permission to use the creative work. A lot of times we are asked to make videos for people with their photos, and then they want us to use certain songs that they have purchased on iTunes, and we have to tell them we cannot use those songs because we are making money off of these projects, and we can't make money off of other people's creative works. So we refer them to websites that have music that is copy free of copyright, and those would be just fine to use. So there are options out there. Now, you may have heard of public domain. Public domain is when the copyright expires, creative works are free to be used. And the way that this works is some of your copyright works will become expired after a certain time. And it's usually so many years after the author has died. So you'll see here, these photos here are under public domain, and you'll see Steamboat Willie. You might recognize Steamboat Willie. That became public domain in 2024. And then the original version of Winnie the Pooh became public domain right in 2022. You'll notice that this Pooh Bear does not have on the red t-shirt because that Pooh Bear, Disney still has a copyright claim on the Pooh Bear with the red shirt. But this original first Pooh Bear, this is the one that is now under public domain. So once they become public domain, after a certain number of years, then they are free to be used. And there's also specific images published by the government that are also considered public domain, such as the Mona Lisa or the man landing on the moon. It's easy to do an online search for public domain. You can find a lot of images and videos that are free to be used. So if you are willing to be a little bit flexible and be able to spend a little bit of time doing your research, you should have no problem finding specific creative works that are public domain. However, if you still cannot find something that is public domain, the image or creative work that you want to use might fall under what's called fair use. Now, fair use means we're going to ask ourselves these questions. Um, we're going to ask if we can fairly use this image, this video, whatever it is. So these questions we need to ask. What is our purpose of using this item? Is it the same purpose or is it a new purpose? If it's a new purpose, then we're okay. What is the nature of the work? So, if it's something that's fiction, a made up story, chances are when we use it, it'll still be the same made up story. And that is very easily traced back to being copyrighted. If it is nonfiction, then that is something that's true that anybody could be able to find or look up or talk about. Also, you want to ask yourself, how much of this work am I going to use? For a dance, am I planning on using the full 4-minute song, or is it sufficient if I just pull out 30 seconds to use? Um, Now, the less amount of minutes that you use, definitely the better. If you can use a short clip, it would be considered under fair use. And then you also want to ask yourself, what effect of the use on the potential market? So, are you going to be making money off of someone else's creative works? And that's the question that we'd always have to ask ourselves when we were making our home movies with people's photos and slides is, are we making money off of this? And the answer was usually yes, we would be. So in that case, then we would not be able to use the popular songs that are found on the radio or from Spotify. Instead, we would have to use something that's copyrighted free, free from copyright. Fair use. Now, fair use can be used in certain ways. Fair use will allow you to use the following: if you're doing commentary on something, if you're doing a parody or kind of like making fun or mocking something, if you're doing news reporting, if you're doing research, and if you're using it for an education purpose. Another thing I'd like to talk about is what's called Creative Commons. Creative Commons is when the creator retains the copyright but grants the public certain rights. And when something has a Creative Common, then this supports an open and collaborative culture. So sometimes you'll see authors or artists be able to do Creative Commons. They want to retain the copyright, but they also grant the public certain rights to be able to use their creative works in a sort of collaborative way. So, in conclusion, if it is not your work, don't touch it without permission. I know it's tempting and easy to do, but I need you to stop and ask yourself these questions. Does this belong to somebody else? And would my using it take money away from them? If the answer is yes, then you need to not use it. Also, you need to give credit where credit is due. You'll see on my next slides that I've put my references down and shown where I've been able to pull off this information. Always give credit where credit is due. Now, there's nothing that says you can't ask for permission. One time we made this music video and we reached out to the artist and asked if we could use a certain song of hers, and she did give us permission. We were thrilled, and it definitely made our video that much better because we were able to use her original music. So you can always ask for permission. It may not be granted. If it's denied, then you do not use their creative works. But do not fear, because there are lots of websites out there that will offer you a copyright free images, copyright free songs, videos, etc. You just have to be flexible and be willing to do your research. And here are the references. This is where I found a lot of my information. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day.